when we went in after their language, even on the word firearm and in the word person. I went back in, showed them under congressional legislation, that word person does not apply to me. It applies to those who hold public office or aliens applying for citizenship. These are significant arguments of walking in here with. Now, you may want to try some of these avenues.
Yeah, I've noticed that anytime you try those arguments in any courts in Canada, they have case law they bring out that they call Meads versus Meads, which basically decided the argument in Canada that you are a person and all access statutes apply to you, period, blah, 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 barf, barf, puke, puke, and they don't listen to anything else. They just toss anything else that you're doing out of the courtroom whatsoever. They won't hear your arguments. So we've tried a lot of that stuff. I mean, I catch them all the time, and they just ignore us now. That's their newest mentality. Because again, this is the first time I've spent more than 26 days in jail. Normally they take off right away. You make it uncomfortable for them for a little while, and they're just like, okay, this isn't worth pursuing this. Just get it out of here. But now this time, every time I opened up my mouth in the courtroom, I was beaten by sheriffs and dragged out of the courtroom. Courtrooms were locked, or nobody else was allowed in there. I filed in the federal court at one point a lawsuit against the Attorney General of Canada and Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Canada for what they were doing to me, and they refused to take me to the federal court for my own court hearing. So the sheriffs, I sat in the basement of the courthouse. The sheriffs refused to take me to the courtroom for my own federal court hearing. There was that. They don't acknowledge UCC. The Personal Property Registry throws out all our claims. They won't recognize anything that we do up here. I'm waiting to see somebody that's actually gotten some remedy in some way, shape, or form in Canada, and it's just not happening. They're just ignoring us altogether. So, their own international covenants, they have absolutely denied us any possible form of effective remedy that I can see to date. So it's gotten to the point where now I've got no faith in that system whatsoever. If we get a new one together, great, like this organization you're talking about. The problem is, how do you enforce any orders from an organization like that? We have no military. We have nothing. They're just going to ignore us and laugh at us.
Okay, so there we have it. After 16 months in jail and now making fun of critics and calling people shills, Dean is now saying the same thing we've been saying for years, that no freeman argument works in Canada because it's already been decided by the upper courts that those arguments are wrong.
If we can't harm them within their own system, then I'm going to drive their fucking system right into the ground, that I'm going to stomp the shit out of it till it's fucking dead, and we're going to have our own to replace it. So they have all these acts and statutes to try to say, oh, well, this is how we're going to govern ourselves, but they've made 11 billion acts and statutes. They've made it so the system they created is completely ineffective. It's ineffectual. It does nothing. It's garbage. It needs to be thrown away, and we need to go right back to the basics. We got to start to appeal to the masses, and that's kind of what I really want to start to concentrate on, and in getting people to stop voting and getting people to start, withdrawing their consent to be governed by not voting, or even revoking and removing themselves from the voting registry altogether, those kind of things.
And now this is the danger here. Dean is now taking a separatist stance against the government of Canada. He's trying to overthrow it, which obviously isn't going to work. But more worrying is that now he's going to encourage people not to vote and to deregister from voting registries, which deregistering from voting registries is not going to change that laws apply to you. But more importantly, voting is the only mechanism that we as individuals have to hold the government in check. For example, some of Dean's charges are drug-related for marijuana. The only way that's ever going to change is through voting. And Dean is actively encouraging people not to vote, which is only going to hurt him and people who are in jail for nonviolent drug offenses even more. But more importantly, Dean keeps bringing up this concept that the current law system is too complicated and there's a billion statutes, rules, and regulations. And my question is, does he honestly believe that? Look, the laws he was in jail for breaking are not complicated ones. I think most people are aware that what he did was a crime and illegal in Canada. He definitely knew about it. So, I mean, should we abandon, the entire system of law, start over just because one person, Dean, is too stupid to understand the rules of Canada? And it's also worth noting, there are some laws that Dean is never going to be able to change. We're always going to be required to have a driver's license. Driving is a dangerous activity. It's important to have some type of safety regulations. The gun laws in Canada, he's not going to convince people to eliminate gun registration in Canada. I mean, it's a system that works in Canada. It's a system that people apparently like, and it has managed to keep, murder rates low in Canada compared to what we have down here in the States. So, now this is just a stupid thing. Because, he's declaring war against Canada, Dean is, over laws that are good laws. These are good laws. What the ones that Dean is breaking. These are laws that are there to, maintain public order.